සංගෙත්තම් ලෝකස්සාති සාදු සාදු සාදු.
ධර්මානුශාසනාව සිදු කිරීම පිණිස වැඩමවා වැඩ සිටින අතිගෞරවාර්හ පණිතාමුදුරන් වහන්සේගෙන් අවසරයි. ඒ වගේම විහාරස්ථානයේ වැඩ සිටින මහා සංඝරුවනින් අවසරයි. දායක සභාවේ සභාපතිතුමන් ඇතුළු සහභාගී වන සදහැවතුනි කාරුණික පින්නතුනි. අපි අතරම වාසනාවන්ත භාවයට පත් වුණා. අපේ පණ්ඩිතාමුදුරන් වහන්සේ විහාරස්ථානයට වැඩම කරවගෙන මේ දින කීපය තුළ අපගේ විහාරස්ථානය තුළ වැඩ සිටින්නට ඉඩ අවකාශ සලසලා දෙන්නට අවස්ථාව සැලසීම. තින් උන්වහන්සේ අපි ලංකාව තුළදී බොහොම දැන හඳුනන පණ්ඩිතාමුදුරන් වහන්සේ නමක්. උන්වහන්සේ අපේ ගෙදර නිවස තුළ අම්මලා සිටින නිවස තුළ ජනවාරි මාසයේ 27 වන දින ධර්මානුශාසනාව පැවැත්වුවෙත් අපේ ගරු කටයුතු පණ්ඩිතාමුදුරන් වහන්සේ. මේ අවස්ථාවේ කෘතවේදීත්වයෙන් ඒකත් පණ්ඩිතාමුදුරන් සිහිපත් කරනවා. උන්වහන්සේ මේ අවස්ථාව තුළදීත් කොළඹ ප්‍රදේශයේ සිටගෙන ඇත්තටම කොතරම් වාහන පහසුකම් උන්වහන්සේට අපේ ගන්න පුළුවන්කම තිබුණත් අප කෙරෙහි අනුකම්පාවෙන් බස් එකේ තමයි මග බස් එකේ වැඩම කරලා අපිට මේ පින්කම සිද්ධ කරලා දෙන්නට යෙදුනේ. ඒ කාරුණික හදවත බුද්ධ පුත්‍රයෙක්ගේ පවතින උතුම් ගුණාංගය නිසා. ඉතින් අද දවස තුලදී මේ කෙටි හැඳින්වීම සිදු කරන්නේ උන්වහන්සේ මේ ධර්මානුශාසනාව තුළ වැඩ විසින්නට යෙදෙන්නේ කැලණිය විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ ඉතිහාස අධ්‍යයන අංශයේ ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ කතිකාචාර්ය ශාස්ත්‍රපති පණ්ඩිත විචිත්‍ර ධර්ම කතික පූජ්‍යපාද ගල්කන්දේ ධම්මානන්ද අපේ පණ්ඩිතාමුදුරන් වහන්සේ. උන්වහන්සේ දායක සභාවේ පින්වත් කාරකාදීන් හැම දෙනා වෙනුවෙනුත් මේ අද දවස තුලදී මේ කටයුතු සංවිධානය කරන්නට යෙදෙන හැම දෙනා වෙනුවෙනුත් පූජ්‍යතර මහා සංඝරුවන වෙනුවෙනුත් දෙපා වන්දනා කරමින් নমස්කාර පූර්වකව අද දවස තුලදී නැවතත් උන්වහන්සේ අපි තාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් පිළිගනු ලබනවා. ගරු කටයුතු පණ්ඩිතාමුදුරන් වහන්සේට අපි තාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් ආරාධනා කර සිටිනවා. මෙතෙන් පටන් පැයක පමණ කාලයක් පැයක් කියලා කිව්වට උන්වහන්සේට ලබා ගන්නට පුළුවන් කාලය අනුව අප වෙනුවෙන් අනුශාසනාවක් සිදු කර දෙන ලෙසට මම හිතන්නේ බොහෝ දිනාගේ ඉල්ලීම තියෙන ඉංග්‍රීසි භාෂාවෙන් සිදු කරොත් හොඳයි කියලා. ඉතින් පණ්ඩිතාමුදුරු පහසු විදියට දෙපැත්තටම ගැළපෙන විදියට ඒ කටයුතු සිදු කරයි කියලා අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා. තව කාරණයක් සිහිපත් කරන්නට ඕන. අද මේ අනුශාසනාවෙන් පසුව රාත්‍රී ආහාරය ලබා දෙන්නට යෙදෙන්නේ ගායනී නෝනා මහත්මිය, ඒ වගේම රංජන තෝරදිනිය මහත්මයා ඇතුළු පවුලේ හැම, ධම්මිකා නෝනා මහත්මිය, ගාමින්ද ගණීවන්ත මහත්මයා ඇතුළු පවුලේ හැම, ප්‍රියන්ති නෝනා මහත්මිය, ප්‍රේම් දිසානායක මහත්මයා ඇතුළු පවුලේ හැම, ගයත්‍රී නෝනා මහත්මිය, මුතු මහපුකෝරාල මහත්මයා ඇතුළු පවුලේ හැම, අමලි මහත්මිය, ශශික මහත්මයා ඇතුළු පවුලේ හැම, අච්චිනි නෝනා මහත්මිය, දිනිඳු පතිරාජ මහත්මයා ඇතුළු පවුලේ හැම, භද්‍රා මහත්මිය, විලී සේනානායක මහත්මයා ඇතුළු පවුලේ හැම, අරුණි මහත්මිය, පුෂ්පන් පෙටිගල මහත්මයා ඇතුළු පවුලේ හැම, ගීතා මහත්මිය, වසන්ත පෙරේරා මහත්මයා ඇතුළු පවුලේ හැම. ඉතින් මේ හැමත් මේ අවස්ථාව තුළදී ගෞරවයෙන් සිහිපත් කරනවා ඔබ වෙනුවෙන් ආහාර ලබලා දීම පිළිබඳව. ඒ අතන්ටත් මේ කුසලයේ අත් වේවා කියන ප්‍රාර්ථනය හැම දිනාගෙම සිත සතන් තුළ තබා ගනිමු. ඉතින් උන්වහන්සේට අපි ගෞරවයෙන් ඉඩකඩ සලසලා දෙනවා මෙතෙන් පටන් අනුශාසනාව සිදු කරගෙන යන ලෙසට. ඒ වගේම මෙතෙන්දී තව කාරණයක් සිහිපත් කරන්න ඕනේ. හෙට සිල් වැඩසටහන පැවැත්වෙන දවස. ඉතින් හෙට දවසේ ධර්ම සාකච්ඡාව හවස 1 ඉඳගෙන 2:00 වෙන තෙක් අපේ පඬිතුමන් වහන්සේ පවත්වන්නේ. උදෑසන ධර්මානුශාසනාවත් උන්වහන්සේ විසින් සිදු කරනවා. නිකන් වඩින්න දෙන්න බෑ වැඩම කරපු වෙලාවේ. වැඩ ටික අපිට ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන් අවස්ථාව. ඉතින් ඒවටත් සම්බන්ධ වෙන්නට පුළුවන්කම පවතින බව අපි කරුණාවෙන් සිහිපත් කරනවා.
Thank you very much, Venerable Sorita. First, I like to take your permission to record only the voice track. Is it okay? It's okay, right? Only the sermon. If the discussion happen, it won't record. Only this, right? Yeah. Dear friends, it's a great pleasure to have this opportunity to meet all of you, to have this 1 hour discussion in a way. The discussion really happened tomorrow. Today it is in a way one way, I will be sharing something and this will be starting point of the discussion tomorrow. So based on this you can, we can continue the discussion. To start the, that today's discussion, I like to share with you the story of coming, my coming here. There are people in Australia who are open to what we have been doing in Sri Lanka for years, and it is sometimes little different from the general message that has been discussing there. In a way, I was concerned about the situation in the country, and we have faced lots of violence, wars and conflicts, so that I was thinking that the Buddhism, the message of Buddhism, how to put it into practice. And that is, so every moment if something happened, I try to bring the message of the Buddha and to share this is how we can address this issue. So after the armed conflict over 2009, I repeatedly tried to tell everyone it is to healing and not celebrations. There is nothing to celebrate, but we need healing, and establishing connection and bridging the communities. So that way I was continuing, and there were some people from Australia who were following this message, and some of them several times asked whether I like to come to Australia to address. There I said I was not prepared to come, and last time when they asked, I said yes, I can come. And that is how this whole journey started. But I thought it may be something like 1 week or 2 to visit Melbourne and Sydney, and but gradually many people from all the cities, they organize it. So I started from Darwin and then came to Brisbane. Now I am in Canberra, and then to Sydney, Melbourne, Tasmania, Adelaide, Perth, and then for 2 weeks to New Zealand. It became a long thing, and I'm really grateful to those people who are organizing this. I can't even think of coming and having that kind of long trip in this part of the world. So I'm ever grateful to those people who are organizing this. And the topic, before coming to the topic, I have to thank and admire Venerable Sorat. We knew each other for several years now, and it is not that the way we came to know each other was that he contacted me once and invited to a program at Ratmalana, and where about 1,500 youths were observing SIL, and he invited me to deliver a sermon there. And I asked from him, there he said, I have heard the message that you are trying to disseminate, so I like you to come and address these youths. So that is the starting point of our meeting. So later on, he informed me that he came to Canberra and he's staying here. So I'm very happy that again I could come and meet him here. And I thank to every one of you, the committee of this monastery, and those who are supporting and organizing this sitting. And today's topic is that cultural Buddhism, or the message of the Buddha, that is briefly, that is the topic. This topic I thought of not thinking of the community in Australia, but thinking of back home, Sri Lanka, because what I see, the more and more cultural things are happening, but the application part, we hardly look at it. So that I thought of deeply considering to go back to the original message and to discuss it. Perhaps maybe some yes, I'm sorry, and I think when I sit here it dropped. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I think now, yes. So that is why I thought of that topic, and when I came here, I understood that topic is very much applicable here as well, in different meaning. That means there, what I saw is that more and more pujas are happening, and new pujas are coming up, and people are more to do such pujas, and that is why I thought of addressing that topic. But when I come here, I saw, yes, it is very applicable here also, not because you are also doing puja and more pujas, but in different way. I saw most of the Sri Lankans who are living here have been born in Sri Lanka and brought up in that culture, and now you are here, but your children are, they are growing in a different culture. So I thought that yes, there is, different way it is applicable, because most of the time you have to work with your children who do not know anything much about the culture back home. So for them, introducing the culture will not be very important, because they are growing up in and the education is different. So that they will have different way of looking at the, then I think it is very good to discuss what is the message and what is the culture. That is why I thought of, this is applicable here in different way. To come to this point, what made me to start thinking in different way, or what made me to you know try to talk with people after the armed conflict. No, it is not the victory celebrations, but it is different. What made me to think that way, that I want to share with you. I was ordinary Buddhist monk. I was born in Ampara, eastern part of Sri Lanka, and I became a Buddhist not knowing what Buddhism is, but it is cultural thing. My family members, everyone was Buddhist, so that I became a Buddhist. And then I saw Buddhist monks. They are the most respected people in the community. As a child, I wanted to be one of them. That is, it is out of attraction. I didn't know anything about Buddhism. And it was a struggle for about 3 years to convince my parents that I want to be, my demand is genuine and I am serious. It took, after 3 years, one day my mother asked me, "Are you serious? Are you really want to be a monk?" I said, "Yes." And there I think she discussed with my father, and at the end they gave me the permission. And I became a monk at Paragoda Vihara in Gaul. If you have read Canberra, that is the temple that Nanda and Piyal go to offer Namal Puja, to do Namal Puja. So I became a monk there. And after becoming monk, I started memorizing all the gathas, pirit, and all those things. And then I started, doing, what the normal monks do. And now I am a monk. Certain incident happened, really challenge me, and started thinking, is that what the Buddha wanted me to do? Is that what my purpose of becoming a monk? I started questioning myself and my role when I saw certain incident. I like to share with you 3 of them. One is, that was the time I became a monk in 1983, Vesak Poya Day. And 1 month after that incident, the Black July happened. But I was not aware much about then, also I was young. Then the war, then many soldiers, dead bodies started coming to where we were living. And one day I happened to go to such funeral, and I was shocked to see the soldier's house. It was mud hut, small hut, and if you open the box, coffin, that almost it touches the walls. So small hut, and the mother of the soldier, she is working at the tea estate at Tea Plucker. And I was so shocked to see the family background there. And after 3 months, there was a dana, and the mother offered a dana to monks. That day, she offered a set of chairs to the temple with the name of the soldier. And it was normal to accept that. But for me, it really shocked me that the mother, I'm sure she got the compensation. With that money, she was offering this set of chairs to the temple. And the shock, what shocked me is, I knew she didn't have chairs at her place, and we have. And how we are going to accept that, and kind of strong feeling in me. But it was the culture, and she offered, and we accept. That is, nothing wrong in that way. But for me, it was very difficult. This is the first incident that changed my journey. And then 1987 to 1990, what happened down south. And there I happened to go again the funerals. And there I happened to go to Kambah village during that conflict time. And there um, it was a new shop was opened by a family. After 2 days of that incident, 3 members of the family were no more, and I went to the funeral and it shocked me again to see and what I felt. Now I am just a monk who go there and do the rituals and come back. And when people invite me, go to the dana and receive whatever offered and come back. And I have no role to, what is happening and whether, to change this or provide some knowledge to stop this. I was not part of it. My role is to go to the funeral. My role is to go to the dana and come back and whatever offered and, This is the second one. The third incident is my brother. My eldest brother was in the service military. In fact, he was in police. And he was serving at Mahoya police station. That was the time that in the night they stopped, people traveling along that road. And early morning, they go for patrol to see whether the road is safe for people to commute. And he was serving there, and unfortunately 22 people, about 10 people from Mahoya police station, 12 people from Pulukunawa Air Force, and they both came from both sides to patrolling, and then they all had to faced ambush. And that really wounded me, because anyone in this world, the eldest brother is the hero, and we were looking at him, and losing the eldest brother was very painful. And then I have learned Buddhism, memorized things, and I have written those things in my answer script and got certificates and passed exams. And there I learned about conditional genesis theory and how to, the metta meditation, even to develop metta to your enemy. That is what I learned. Now, in a way, I have an enemy. I have lost my eldest brother. That was very painful to live with that pain, but I didn't know how to develop loving kindness to those people who took a gun against my brother. Theoretically, I know, but practically how to do, that was very difficult. And all the knowledge I got around me didn't support my effort to practice loving kindness. And even in the funeral, I saw brutal terrorist did this. Everywhere it was brutal terrorist. And the news, yes, it is brutal terrorist. Now I have to learn how to develop loving kindness to brutal terrorist. Everyone says that word. And from my background, I never got any support how to look at different way, those people who took a gun. There was no support. Only term I heard was that only. And it was painful. And one day I was sitting at by the Nard tree. We have our institute, and around 9 p.m. switch off all the light. I was in there sitting in the dark, and first time it came to my mind in such a way that whoever who happened to take a gun against my brother, if that person is living, may that person be healed. Whoever who happened to take a gun against my brother, may he be well, may he be happy. If that person also is no more, may that person also find the ultimate peace, the way my brother achieved that. When I developed my thoughts in that way, I felt I am relieved. I was carrying heavy thing in my heart until then. I felt it is such a feeling that I relieved from my pain. That is where I understood this metta meditation is, it is not just saying that may that person be well, may that, no, it is something comes, the way we look at, that is where. In fact, the way I learned metta meditation was different. I first time learned metta meditation at a school. It is like the stage, stage, and the principal was conducting the metta meditation, and we were in rows, and while we were doing that, young people, those who are in the back rows, they start, hitting each other and do some, and then the principal stopped the metta meditation and get down from the stage and go back to the back rows, and those who we were in the front row hear the sound from the back. The principal is, practicing his metta to those, students, and come back to the stage and he start again, Sielu Sattvayo Nidukvetva Nirogi Vetva. So that was the metta that we saw, that there was no connection what he was saying and what he was practicing, and even the principal never worried about it. There was no connection. So this way I understood the kind of way of looking at changes. It is not just saying something, the way of looking at, with that change, the healing starts. That was my first experience. And after that, I was part of the Mandela Dialogue. It is a program. I represented Sri Lanka and Buddhist community and 3 more people from other religious backgrounds. For the first workshop, I went to South Africa, Cape Town, and the second workshop happened in Sri Lanka. And it was at Batticaloa, and the second day morning, the organizers invited me to do something as part of the program, to start the program, where I conducted the same metta meditation with those who have come from various parts of the world. There I add little bit of my experience, like my eldest brother faced that unfortunate incident about 40 kilometers away from this place. Please join with me. And again, whoever who happened to take a gun against my brother, may he or she be well, And after the end of the program, they all came to me. They have come from different countries where conflict is, still conflict going on. There they said they felt very strongly, and that helped them to look at their enemy in a different way. That day, there was a list of programs that we could select. One was to go to meet interfaith group, and the other was to go to Butterfly Garden, where children from different faith come together and work together. And third one was to go to meet former LTT cadres. There I selected the third one. And I went with the group to a particular place. We were sitting, and I saw 5 people were coming. Out of these 5, 2 were female. They were in a way limping, and they came and sat in front of us. Now, until then, I was developing my loving kindness. Whoever who happened to take a gun, then there was no face and no human figure, and whoever. Now, there are people before me, they have a face. And first time I heard their story, and when I heard them, particularly one lady, Jekala, who was a widow, when I heard her story, I felt I couldn't bear it, so much of the emotional that, I felt my brother is a privileged person. What kind of life these people have gone through from the childhood. And that is the second point of changing of my journey. There I understood there is nothing called my healing until I start something to heal those people who I understand as my other. And that started a new journey. After that, every year for New Year, I spend somewhere in Kilinochchi, Konaville, Thero and Kandal, and whatever I have got, from Bana preaching and all that, the books, pens, and whatever I got, which were useful for children, I carried them and to distribute them with them. And there I got the chance to, and I always mindfully avoided the army camp, police station, and the Buddhist temple there, because I wanted to be, go there without any baggage, and for them to see me in, so I always, it is not because I have some ill feeling or anything, but for the people there. And if they see me and, look at me, someone, then with their past memory, they will not openly welcome me. So that I always avoided. And there I could, establish the bridge. And sometimes, and I have to share with you, it is amazing the love and warmth shown by those people, even after 30 years of armed conflict. That's that much of welcome, that much of warmth from them. Sometimes the way they embrace me, old people, and and then sometimes I saw pictures hanging on the walls at the houses, those who offered me meal, and sometimes those youth who died in the conflict as part from the other side. So this is my journey, and it was not, the more and more I felt Buddhism is practical, and we have to present it in a new language, new method, and more into practice, and not towards ritual. So this is my journey, and that is what made me to, my language, my presentation, and my approach changes, with that experience, my own realization, So that is from that I always suggest that we need a change, and we need to look at this message a different way, and look at human being different way, and try our best to put this message into practice. And from there, we think that we need to identify, look at the culture. Culture is something developed over time, and we are not against culture, and culture has some very healthy elements to heal us. As an example, in a funeral, we do rituals. We invite monks, and they come and they, deliver sermon, and their monks says that in this short period of time, you offered things to the monk, that is dana, and you observed 5 precepts, that is sila, and you were very silently listening to the anicca-vata sankhara, all that is bhavana, and you did all the 3 these meritorious acts here. Now you are strong enough to help the deceased person. Now let's come together, hold the jar together filled with water, and there everyone with sadness see there is an empty cup there, and those who have lost their loved one, and they are not alone, everyone around, they together hold the jar, and there they get the feeling that we are not alone, my relatives are with me, my everyone is with me, and that is therapeutic. And then you see something happening, the water from the jar goes to the empty cup, and it overflow. Until overflow, you continue pouring there by saying idam me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatyo, may my deceased relative be well and happy. There the monks recite Yathavari Vahapura Paripurenti Sagaran, like the way the sea, the water comes from rivers, go to the sea, and the same manner the deceased person get what we give them, so they become healed. So it is a very strong healing practice, and they see the cup become fill and overflow. And most of the time, when this rituals and religious work is done, people stop crying, and they, that is the starting of healing. So this culture has very rich therapeutic practices, and so it is not that we have to stop the culture or something. But if we think this culture is Buddhism, and the pujas are Buddhism, peraharas are Buddhism, and Buddha spent 45 years wandering from place to place, and most of the time staying under trees, and even at the age of 80 years he was on the road. And no one of our relatives, when they are old, they were not on the road, they were at home, and we look after them. But the Buddha, he was not at home, there was no shelter, and he was on the road, and he didn't have a healthy food. His last meal was not a healthy food. It is not good for 80 years old person to have such food. And he passed away. Sinhalen kiwot parak kaine gahak යට. Why he did that? Why he did that much of sacrifice? What is the meaning of his sacrifice? Is it to teach us doing peraharas, to do rituals, or the message is different? And I think while practicing our rituals, the culture, as long as it is not harmful, as long as it is not consuming more and more resources, it is okay and it is good. But the Buddha's message, we have to be, mindful. Buddha's message was not the cultural things, not the rituals, but it was something totally different. And it is for healing, and it is a message for us to, be calm, and, for us to heal ourselves, and then to heal around us, and to have a peaceful living. The message of the Buddha says, the resources around us is more than enough for us to have a peaceful life. And what we need to know is that sharing and looking after each other, and not to grab things, not to craving, and then we will have a peaceful lives. That is the message of the Buddha. And from there, I like to start my message here. And in fact, after that, I was thinking new methods of delivering this message, and new language is needed. And whenever I go, and if I start Pingatuni Arasthanga Margya, Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, and then you are no more ready to listen to me. You go to your school days, and yes, we have recited, we have memorized this for our O-level exam, and I know that, okay? And after that, you are not ready to open to listen any more new things, but you go to old things and you think you know. So I thought of, we need a new language, new way of presenting. And there, first I thought we need to look at what is the liberation path. And from there, not only the liberation path, but the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths again, Dukkha Satya, Samudaya Satya, Nirodha Marga. So it is in our memory. But when I saw a different way, it is the problem. Once we see the problem, our tendency is to give solutions. That is the normal way. If all you are educated people, professionals, and if you hear imagine that you are working in a company, you are someone who take decisions, and workers say we are not going to work tomorrow or something, the immediate action will be to take action. But these Four Noble Truth models give us a different way of addressing problems. If there is a problem, do not go to give answer. Instead, why it happened, the causes to create that problem. Go to that step. And now, if you are the administrator, instead of taking actions, you will take a paper and pen and start writing down why this problem arises, and consult the people why you said you are not ready to go. And they will say, we have to work in a very inhospitable places. We don't have boots, we don't have insurance, or and then you can list out why they say they are not ready to work. After taking all the causes, then now you feel you can solve the problem because everything is on the paper. That trust you get, I can resolve the problem, is the third step in the Four Noble Truth. When you have identified the problem, then you list out the causes. And once you see the list of the causes, you see, I can solve. There is a solution. The fourth is to action part, how to achieve that solution, what you understood, realize as the solution. So the Four Noble Truth is a model of looking at problems, list out the causes. When you see the list, it is very confident that you can solve the problem, and what action you should take to achieve that solution. That is what in the Four Noble Truth, and we can apply this model anywhere in our life. Our tendency is, whenever the problem arises, we tend to give the solution based on our prejudices and all whatever in our mind. So Buddha suggests, be free from all that prejudices and free judgments, be open and list out the causes. Then you will see that you can solve and the action you should take. So when I start sharing Four Noble Truth in this way, I think students started getting it. Instead of memorizing and the kind of religious terms, they understand that this is something very practical model you can apply at any time in your life. And then the solution shared by the Buddha. There I thought of the new language and new way of presenting. In fact, I was I was saying to people, imagine there are 3 boxes before you, and one, your behavior that others can observe, the first box. Second one, your mind, your thoughts, and something related to your thinking. Third box, the nature of the world and the way you are going to interact with the world. This is written on the top of the boxes. And let's keep this second and third box somewhere, and let's take the first box and open. There are 3 small boxes inside this big box. That is, the first one is your word. Second box says about your physical engagements, interventions. Third small box says your livelihood. Okay, let's take the first box, small box, word. There Buddha suggests, be mindful about your word. Before you speak, before you open your mouth, consider these 4 questions. Whether this is true. If yes, okay, go ahead. But second question, whether this will create hatred. If it's true, if I say this, your son told me that yesterday he telephoned me. Imagine that you are talking to your relatives, and then your son told me, and he met someone, and he is ready to, she is the best person for share the life in the future, and you say that because it is true. But when you tell that to the mother of that person, there will be a problem. So it is not enough to see that it is true, but before saying something, yes, it is true, but when I say this, what will happen? That will create problem. Then not to speak. And then what I am going to speak, will that hurt the person? If you see yes, then no, I am not going to. The fourth question is whether this is meaningful. It is true and it will not create problem. It is not harsh, but if it is not meaningful, there is no point of saying that. So in this small box, I wrote these questions, and consider these things before you opening your mouth. If everything is yes and agreeable, go ahead. If not, keep the noble silent. That is said in this small box. Do you think now this is practical? And student says, yes, this is practical. Do you think this is meaningful? Yes, this is meaningful. Do you think this is very religious? No. Even any secular place, this is practical. And do you think that you need to be a Buddhist to practice this? No. Anyone who identify with any religion, they can practice this, and this is meaningful. Okay, then we can. And if we train this, we can be a better person. No need to think that maybe you sometimes break this, but if you learn this, practice this, gradually you will be someone who use the words very meaningfully and not harmful to anyone, but very benevolent. And second small box, it suggests your physical engagement with the world. So again the question, I respect my life, I love it, I don't want to die. And it is the same for any living being. I will not do anything that harm the right of living of anyone. That is the first one. Second is, I will not do anything that discomfort anyone, whether it is physical or mental. And third, again, I will not engage in any unlawful or dealing, that something not given to me I will not take. And then again, as grown-up people, when you go for worldly pleasure, I will not do anything that is mutually agreed or the rest out of without respect. And these are the things in the small second box. Again, whoever who you no need to be a particular religious person to follow these things. And if we follow this, wherever we live, it will be a peaceful place. And the third small box, it talks about livelihood. And when you select a job, please consider whether this is something harmful to the ecosystem, whether this is something harmful to the living organs, or and whether this is something poisonous, what I am selling or spreading, whether this is something intoxicating, then you can think of how to find a different job that does not harm the system. And these are the things that come in the first box, small to 3 boxes. Now again, I said that whole liberation model, the teaching is there in these 3 boxes. Now you know about 1 box. And do you think that to practice this you have to be born again and again? You have to wait till the Maitri Buddha to come? And no, today itself you can start. Okay, out of 3, 1 you can do. Now let's keep the first box somewhere and take the second box. It talks about something very important. Buddha first talks about us, to develop our effort to certain things that are not healthy to minimize, certain things that are very helpful to develop. That is there, whatever you do today, something that you do with expectations to get something. You have that desire to get something. I do this, I need back, more than that. And there Buddha suggests identify those things and try to minimize them, reduce them. And identify things that you will start newly, that expectation. Expectation is mean to gain more, right, for you. And identify those things you tend to start and try to stop starting such things. That is the first part of the effort. And second is identify things that you are doing today that without any expectation. I do this. I'm not worry about what the result. I do this because I feel that I should do this. It is helpful to the others, so I do. Buddha suggests identify them, develop it, and consider what more you can start, without such expectation, but beneficial for the world. Identify them, try to start. Again, those things that you do with anger and hatred or competition, identify them. There will be some very mild things, but we don't identify that there is slight competition. Perhaps in our religious places, we do religious things, and sometimes we will do things out of competition. Last time the Katina Puja was done by that family. They did it this way. I will do better this time. There is a slight competition there. Buddha suggests identify such things and reduce them, reduce them. And identify where you will start doing things with that out of competition. Identify them. Do not try to start them. Try to, not to start such things. And again, Buddha suggests identify things that you do without competition. There is no competition. I do this, and I don't care what the other family did, or I have I don't want. I do this. This is what I have. I do this. There is no competition. Buddha suggests improve and start new things. And I'm sure we can consider, as ordinary people, we will do things with expectation, desire to get more, and it is normal. Buddha suggests us to be mindful, identify, and then reduce. It is not stop tomorrow. No, be mindful and try to find ways to minimize, reduce, and then the beneficial things. Without expecting anything, without competition, what you do today, I'm sure every one of us, we are doing such things, maximize. And the first box of in that. Second small box is about the mindfulness. Train your mind to be in the present moment. Be aware what is happening. That is very useful to practice the things came in the first box. When someone approach you and the way he or she approach, you will get angry, and then you will utter a word that is harmful. If you are mindful, you know what is happening, what is going on, and then this is the moment that will utter a word that is harmful. I regret later, so I am not going to, I am mindful about it. Then, so to practice what we learned in the first box, it is very much needed to be, develop mindfulness. So this is very much helpful to do whatever we do. The education may be, the workplace, mindfulness is very much helpful. And there is another small box that talks about concentration, that goes into deeper levels of dhyana and other things. I'm not going to present such, if you are interested, there are ways of learning and there are places to practice, but I'm talking about how to live healed and without competition, such world. And for that, these two teachings, that effort and the mindfulness, it is very much needed. And then the last box, there Buddha, that is the most important, and the two boxes that we discussed, base is there in the last box. That is to be mindful, the nature of the world. There Buddha suggests nothing in this world, whether it is physical or mental formation, nothing in this world, something that we can identify, something unchanging, something permanent. Everything is unceasingly changing. That is there. That is the nature of the world. And second thing, everything that we see, whether it is physical or mental, they are conditioned. And perhaps we know about physical things, but about our ideas and concept, we will not see that they are conditioned things. And with the small time I have, I like to share with you one of my experience. When I was a young monk at Gol Paragoda, we were going to religious rituals and the funeral is one part. And then we didn't have that much vehicles. We have to walk from this village to the other village. And the rainy season, and always in down south, rain is there. And when we read there, the sad background, people are crying, and in that background we get Alia cream soda. That the smell comes, and we drink that. Even now, if you offer me the same thing, I feel that I am in a funeral house. Whether it is a hotel or somewhere, I get the same feeling. That particular brand doesn't have anything to do with funeral or wedding house. It is but the concept that create it is the context that I got that smell, the taste. So whenever it comes to me, that is how all our ideas and concepts are created in context, depending on the experience and depending on the person who is open to that experience. It doesn't mean that all the other monks who sat with me got the same feeling. It is not. They are conditioned in different way. Their way of taking it is different. Perhaps they will say, I don't mind, I don't have any such feeling. So it is not something, theory that everyone get the same thing. No, I am a different person. My way of analyzing is different. So the person who open to that get that other person is very different, they get the different way. So the ideas and concept that we are holding it is the conditioned things. So the Buddha suggests to see this, everything is conditioned. And then if everything and the other thing Buddha suggests, there is a strong interconnectedness and interdependence. You see, whatever the funeral thing and the offering of all these things, and that in that atmosphere, I get that feeling. Not only that, whenever someone say white gentleman, you will get particular idea. If a lady with a dot here, you will that community. We didn't know that when we were children. If someone say that someone with the tilaka here, dot here, you will say it's a baby. But grown-up people, we will say no, this belongs to different community. So all these ideas and concepts we got during our journey, Buddha suggests that they are not set something. Depending on the context, we are conditioned. So all the world, and it is very easy for you to understand this. You have been conditioned in Sri Lanka in different culture. Now you see your children, they grow, they are conditioning in different atmosphere, different education. Their way of thinking is totally different. Now you can see how the conditioning process happen. We are conditioned in different way, they are conditioning in different way. There is no such thing as this is the best way of conditioning. Depending on the experience, we are conditioned. And Buddha suggests to, this is how things work. When you see this, you will understand there is nothing for us to crave. If everything is bound to be changed, what I am going to, grab, and it is bound to be changed. Secondly, there is no point of hating, because I am hating to a particular moment in that changing process. It is no more there, it is changed. And I am also is changed. So who is going to hate or to whom? So Buddha suggests when you see the nature of this nature, you are not, you stop hating or you are not stop craving. You see that there is nothing for us to crave or hate. That is the realization. There Buddha suggests only way to engage is develop loving kindness. That is the only way. If the person, my neighbor, he is not my relative, nothing to do with me, my people are protected, I have fight with him, I don't think that there is, he is not one of us. But imagine that if he is a schoolmaster, he goes to the school with that wounds, with, after fighting with me. And his anger will, the affect to the children who are studying there. One day, I do this thinking that he has nothing to do with my life. But I love my brother, I love the children of my brother. One day, my brother's son will select someone to be his partner from the class that teacher was teaching. So someone come to my family. I thought I am not, connected with this person, but he is part of changing world. One day, I shared with you my brother's story. I know he was not someone born to take a gun. He was a nice person. He wanted to be a schoolmaster, and his dream was to be a teacher. But situation created him to, go to that job. The same way, those who came to that Mahavaya to attack him and the others, they were not born to take a gun. They were innocent children like any other child. The conditions that they had to grow and the situations, the background made them to take a gun. And they met each other without knowing each other. My brother didn't have enemy there. They didn't have, they had no anything to do with my brother. They are all victims. So when you see this, the last box, the way you look at people totally changes. That is what made me to think those people, they are not my enemy. Even my brother is not enemy to them. And if we could, my former generations could create the atmosphere, they all can live together peacefully. They are still living, having a peaceful life. So the process that determined the death of these people maybe started about 25 or 35 years even before my brother was born. So if we know this process, then there is no, only thing that we can do is develop loving kindness and not to hate, not to do anything harmful. So this is the message of the Buddha. I'm sure if we present this message in this way, whether your religious identity is something else, you will say, this is such a great message, why not we practice this? So I think my hour is over now, 83, almost past the time. I think we start at 7:30. And I'm sure this is the message I want to share with you. This is the message I want to share with anyone I meet. And yes, I couldn't tell Sorata Hamadru. He introduced me as a senior lecturer attached to the Department of History. In fact, I resigned from the job. I resigned on 15th of February, and same night I came here. After 21 years of service, I thought this is not my I want to dedicate my rest of the life to spread this message, whoever who I meet. And I think we all are wounded. I was wounded, and we need healing. And spreading loving kindness is the method of healing. And it is our message. And it has nothing to do with any religious thing. It is, any human can practice. And we all are, I think, wounded people. You also happen to come here. And if the country that you were born was very friendly and you got the fair and opportunities, I am sure you will not come here. And tomorrow, if that country becomes a place that you are welcome, the fairness and everything, you will go back to serve the country. That is how I see. So whoever who happened to take such decision, I'm sure they are with wounds. And I met 2 minutes only. When I came, I have met some Burger people, one family who are living in Melbourne. When I came to Melbourne, I had 5 hours before I take the next flight to Darwin. I went to, my friends took me to their house. I saw everywhere lion flags, Buddha statues, this Burger family. And Larry has come with their family when he was 13 years old. Still he is trying to keep that identity. How much it is important for them to keep the memory of their childhood Sri Lankan identity. So that is, I think, common to everyone who happen to. Sometimes, there will be people who don't have that much, affection, but those who happen to come leave the country because because it was not. You felt that it is no more, safe place for your children to grow. I'm sure still you think if the country becomes the good place, you are ready to go. So I think it is our duty wherever we live. That's okay. Try to work to heal our country, heal the place we are living, and more and more kinder and compassionate towards anyone, towards ourselves and to others. There we will make a place we all can live happily. With that message, I will come to the end of this program, and I am sure I have to mention those who organize. I think it is the committee that organized this Dhammadeshana, and the meal, it is ready for you. And those people who contributed, Gayani, Ranjana Thoradeniya, Dhammika Shaminda Ganevat, Priyanti Prem Disanayaka, Gayatri Muthu Maha Korala, Amma Amali Shashika, Achini Denidu, and Bhadra Vilisena Naika Aruni, Pushpan Pitigala Gita Vasanta Pereira, and I appreciate their work, and particularly Vilisena Naika and Pushpan, who made my stay comfortable here and arrange everything. And let's try to practice this message. This is nothing to do with rituals. This is something to change our way of looking at and to practice. And let's be healed. Let's spread the message of healing. Let's live a healed life. And what we have is more than enough to lead a happy life. And with that message, I will come to the end of this Dhammadeshana. May you be well. May you be happy. And may you have the courage to, this is practical. This we can practice. I can be a healed person. I can help. I can stop wounding. I can be a healer. So let's try to be healers. With that message, let's come to the end of this program. May you find the ultimate bliss of nirvana, the peace. Dukkhapatta cha nidukkha, bhayapatta cha nibbhaya, sukhapatta cha nisukha, hontu sabbe pipaninu.
කාරුණික වාසනාවන්ත පින්වත්නි, අද දින විශේෂ ධර්මානුශාසනාවක් පවත්වා වදාළ අතිපූජනීය හිටපු ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ කතිකාචාර්ය ගල්කන්දේ ධම්මානන්ද නායක ස්වාමීන්ද්‍රයන් වහන්සේට අපි පුණ්‍යානුමෝදනා සිද්ධ කිරීමයි මේ වෙලාවේදී සිදු කරන්නට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. විහාරාධීශවර අපේ අපරලේ සෝරත ස්වාමීන්ද්‍රයන් වහන්සේ වෙනුවෙනුත් ඒ වගේම දායකකාරකාදී පින්වත් හැමදෙනා වෙනුවෙනුත් අපි මේ වෙලාවේදී අපේ කෘතවේදීත්වය සහ පුණ්‍යානුමෝදනාව අපේ ස්වාමීන්ද්‍රයන් වහන්සේට මේ වෙලාවේදී පළ කර සිටිනවා. ඒ වගේම උන්වහන්සේ තාමත් වටිනා